415 years old, maybe more. It's in Shakespeare's Henry VI, and it is testament to how long and how violently we and the generations of laymen who preceded us have despised the legal profession. And Shakespeare was writing long before lawyers included reimbursement for their husband's dry cleaning in their bills. In our number one story in the countdown, two cases in point. Debra Opri, the former lawyer for Larry Birkhead, has reportedly charged her client for attending the funeral of Anna Nicole Smith. And that's not the least of it, according to TMZ.com. Birkhead had reportedly fired Ms. Opri 2 weeks ago. She fired back this weekend with a bill totaling more than $620,000, including these gems. At Opri's rate of $475 an hour, 10 hours to prepare and attend the funeral of Anna Nicole Smith. That notation entered twice on the and what would total $9,500 for a funeral, which Birkhead reportedly asked Opri not to attend. Then there is the petty $25.75 for laundry service for Ms. Opri's husband, Zawacki. The Zawacki Opri. And other trips to the proverbial cleaners, like pricey dinner tabs, $600 at Seafood World in Fort Lauderdale. And other trips to the proverbial cleaners, like pricey dinner tabs, $600 at Seafood World in Fort Lauderdale, $161, a relative steal at Outback Steakhouse. $50 of that was the tip, incidentally. And apparently working dinners at Grey Cliff and Nassau Restaurant, where Ms. Opri met with other lawyers to the tune of about 3,500 clams over 2 consecutive nights. Ms. Opri's own lawyer has defended her bills as fair and responsible. He'll be sending Mr. Birkhead a bill, too, no doubt. Back to the Opri bill first. It does not fail to fascinate. Possibly 20 hours total for preparation and attendance of Anna Nicole Smith's funeral. And, you know, if Ms. Opri is speaking at it before or after the funeral or something like that, you could see it. But 20 hours prep time to go?
She should have learned to disguise her bills a little better. Most lawyers are very good at that. In fact, the only comment that she made during most of this was, we're under a gag order, we can't comment, and Larry's looking forward to taking the baby home. I can't imagine that took 20 hours to prepare. It's pretty extraordinary, but I've got a great story for you on that. When I was in private practice many years ago, a CEO client prepared a bill for our law firm, and it was about 3 inches thick, and he had in there things like walk past senior partner's car, removed leaf, 0.2 hours, wandered past Cryer's office, wondered what she was thinking, 0.3 hours. And that does give people an idea, oftentimes, what legal bills look like. 0.2 hours, wandered past Cryer's office, wondered what she was thinking, 0.3 hours. And that does give people an idea, oftentimes, what legal bills look like.
As to the reaction to this, Ms. Opri had charged Mr. Birkhead reportedly $475 for making copies of her TV appearances. We already mentioned the cleaning charges for her husband. Her publicist also has charges showing up on the Birkhead bill, and the publicist then said, the quote exactly is, Debra Opri always gets paid, that's what she does for a living.
Ouch.
It's a rather blunt admission, but aren't these exactly the kinds of expenses that drive people nuts, and how do lawyers get away with that?
Well, and for the most part, they should drive people nuts, and they don't examine their bills closely enough. And as I said earlier, most of the time, these kinds of things are more disguised. Unless you can really legitimately show that that dinner at Outbacks or wherever was a working meeting and it was substantive in nature, then you shouldn't be billing your clients for these sorts of charges. Certainly on the road, if you're traveling time, somebody better get in there and negotiate with you and not be paying that $475, which should be time reviewing the file, not sitting in an airplane. But unfortunately, the legal profession can do this. There are plenty of very scrupulous attorneys, but there are those that might pad the bill from time to time, and clients better be careful.
And speaking of travel and such, there's a bill in part of this, 20 hours of travel time for this attorney, Ms. Opri, to get to and from an appearance on 2020. So she's getting paid by her client to go on TV?
Well, in some part, she has been a PR agent for her client, and she's trying to sell him to the American people and to courts that might review his case. And some might argue she's done a good job with that. He's certainly, I think, the most popular of the candidates for fatherhood of this child. But again, you ought to be negotiating these sorts of things, because the upper end of the fee ought to be for the serious legal work and not for time sitting back in first class.